Tonight, members of Parliament of the Republic of Ghana involved in a bribery scandal as they're being accused of taking Chinese phones as a form of bribery to push them into approving a contract in favor of the said Chinese company. The Chinese company in question is ZTE Corporations, and they were to supply the government of Ghana with gadgets for security information for the purposes of monitoring and responding to security emergencies. Is this the trend for approving contracts in Parliament? We seek answers, and this is today's big story. Stephen Anti, and the director of the Parliamentary Centre, Dr. Rashid Dramani, has described as a big insult a possible conflict of interest situation in which the Chinese company is reported to have distributed 275 ZTE mobile phones to Ghana's members of Parliament, considering an agreement involving the Chinese company and the government of Ghana already existed. Dr. Dramani said the Speaker of Parliament, Edward Doe Ajaho, must immediately order the MPs to return the phones for onward return to the Chinese company. His comments come in the wake of allegations that the company bribed the MPs with the phones to have them approve the contract that will enable ZTE acquire for the government of Ghana gadgets for security information for the purposes of monitoring, responding to security emergencies. Ranking member of the Trade and Industry Committee of Parliament, Daniel Ni Quote Titus Glover, has dismissed assertions the phones were to bribe them. We're being joined now on the line by Dr. Dramani, who I told is joining us for an insight into this. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us, sir. Good evening, Doc, and thanks for joining us. Well, if you're watching as this is today's big story, and we're looking into bribery allegations against members of Parliament who it's reported to have they've received 275 pieces of ZTE mobile phones from a Chinese company. The Chinese company is set to be in arrangement with the government of Ghana to provide some gadgets for security and responses to emergency security situations of this. We're hoping to get onto the line again to speak to Dr. Rashid Dramani, who is Director of the Parliamentary Services, to give us an insight into this situation. This is today's big story. This is today's big story, and Dr. Rashid Dramani, Director of the Parliamentary Centre, is now joining us on the line. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us on today's big story.
Yes.
So, were the MPs really bribed?
That's a question that I cannot answer. But what I know is that I've been told that the MPs were given phones, and that was when they were approving an agreement between our government and the Chinese company.
Right.
On the face of it, you know, especially coming on the back of an incident a few weeks ago when they rejected the same agreement, they sent the minister packing from Parliament. I was very pleased when I saw Parliament saying to the minister, this agreement is not good. We are not going to approve it. Take it away. I was very, very pleased because that is one instance when I thought that Parliament had reached its high. And so it is on the back of this incident that I thought that if today we are hearing that MPs were given phones when the agreement was brought back to Parliament, then I think it raises a lot of questions about bordering on ethical issues. And in any case, I think every parliament has a code of conduct and code of ethics. I am not too sure whether there is one that guides how our honorable members are supposed to behave in this house. I know most parliaments that I work with have these codes, and these codes guide you as an honorable member regarding the circumstances under which you can accept gifts, and then what you should do with those gifts, and so on. So it is on the basis of all these that I think that if indeed they were given phones, then I think there are issues there. And in addition, I heard the honorable member this afternoon saying that those phones are national security phones, that MPs can talk to each other without anybody interfering and listening in. And I thought that this is even a more serious issue, because we don't need a Chinese company to come and give phones to our honorable members to talk to each other.
But Doc, I mean, the critical question here is that the minister came to Parliament, and Parliament as an institution asked him to go away. And then these phones, from the way you're telling me, the phones were sneaked in. This is absolutely...
I didn't say that. I mean, that's what the news item is saying.
Right. So tell me exactly how you learned that the phones have reached the MPs then.
I learned about these phones when we were on a discussion this afternoon on City FM, and they interviewed the Honorable Titus Glover. He was interviewed first before me, and he confirmed that all of them received the phones. I didn't know. I was even in Parliament this morning, but I didn't know about this.
Right.
But Honorable Titus Glover on one of the networks, City FM, this afternoon confirmed that all of them received the phones, and the phones are very cheap phones.
But cheap, whether cheap or not, I mean, they've been given to the MPs, and they took them anyway. So
that's right, and that's my issue. That's my issue, and especially as I was telling you, because a few weeks earlier they sent the minister packing, and then subsequently you hear that the minister came back with the agreement, and MPs were given phones. Even if these phones did not influence their decision, it's not in good taste.
Right, Doc, I will have you hold. I have Titus Glover joining us also on phone. I'll put some of the issues to him. Titus, it's great to have you here.
Thank you very much.
So tell us about this cheap phone.
I had my brother talking the fact that we set the minister parking. There was a few gray areas on the report that was sent by the Joint Committee of the Speaker Communication to the defense on this supply credit. That means the Speaker compel the withdrawal of the report for them to do some correction. But we never asked the minister to go back. We did not go and beg for the communication minister to come and give us mobile phone.
Right, so
we are serving this country.
Yeah.
This was a company that before that started with.
Titus, let's get
protection of national security.
Titus, let's get some basics before we continue. I mean, you have told the media that these phones were cheap phones. Can you describe to me exactly what these phones are, the features they have, and what they are supposed to do?
My mother, I don't even know the features, because there is a platform on the phone that members of parliament communicates through. It's like a Motorola. There's a portion on the phone where you press the button, then you can communicate to any member of parliament that you want to.
Yes.
And others can join in the conversation as and when. You can't do private calls on this. It is a security phone. This phone is being monitored by national security. You can't do your personal phone calls on this very phone. But for me, the angle at which the Dramani is taking from, as the need some of the media is the fact that we are compromised on the supply strength of this company, and for that matter, we are not doing our job very well. That is where I have my difficulty.
But do you not see under the circumstance, I mean, the way these phones were given to the MPs, that it raises critical issues of conflict of interest, for example, and you create the environment where people will begin to suspect that you are being influenced.
He's entitled, and all those that.
No, but do you not see it that way? That's the point I'm making.
Honestly, to me, I know myself. And I know this phone cannot blind me if I want to do something good for this country. Honestly, I know myself. And you all know this media. How firm and I am. And this phone cannot bribe me to influence my decision to serve the interest of this country.
So what,
I can tell you, my brother, hold on.
Yeah.
Monday, the way the media is making noise about this thing, Monday, I just go to my leader's office and drop the phone. Because after all, I don't use this as my private call. And this cannot influence any member of the House. This phone. If that is the way they are thinking, then I'm sorry. If that is the way they are thinking, I'm totally sorry. I'm prepared to take the phone today on Monday. I don't need it.
Right, so
but this cannot influence me or any of my colleagues.
Right, it's very worrying, but tell us how you got to receive the phone. Did you get a communique announcing that some phones were to be distributed?
What really happened was that we went to Parliament one day and that information was given to us that mobile phone has been supplied to the Parliament. And it was sent to our leader's office, the chief office, the deputy minority leader's office. And we went inside and picked the phone. That's it. This is a security phone because not 3 couples in this country have access to the phone. Ministers of state have access to the phone. And MP, apart from our job as legislators, the security of our people is very important. So if you have a security phone and something is going on, you have access to the security phone that you can contact for the necessary action to be taken. So for me, that is the way I see it.
Right.
It's about security of our country. So if Kufuor has gone into contact with this company, Kufuor and his administration is wrong, NDC government has found wisdom in what Kufuor was doing to protect the citizen, including my brother, the money. What is wrong with it? And how can this be termed as bribery against honorable members of Parliament? But with the greatest of respect to your business, if they say this as a form of bribery, tomorrow morning, Monday morning, call me. I will go and drop it at my leader's house, and I'll confirm to you that I'll send that.
Right. Titus, one more thing. I do know that when agreements of this nature are placed before Parliament, there are series of lobbying that go on. Can you explain to us the behind-the-scene lobbying that usually takes place before agreements are approved?
I've never seen any lobbying going on. Our leaders have not told us anything. We have members of the joint committee. They went and met. They look at the merits of the contract, the terms and all that, making sure the interest is most free and the supplier. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I don't see any lobbying of anything to make sure we push this deal through, even though maybe the case the interest of Ghana. No, I never saw that.
Right.
And one for me, I'm also not on that committee.
Right.
I'm on Treaty Justice Authority, Appointment Committee, and members holding Office of Prop. So I can tell you on authority that nobody can influence any member of Parliament or the other committee, let alone at the president. So I'm surprised the way the media is taking that proportion. And I'm assuring my brother, Monday morning, 8 o'clock, call me. I'm going to drop the phone and then you have to.
Right, so Titus Glover will still hold you and we'll have an interaction with Dr. Rashid Dramani, who is still on the line. So, Doc, you heard Titus Glover. He doesn't see anything wrong at all with MPs receiving this phone.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm giving you the chance, Doc, to react to Titus Glover, who does not see anything wrong with MPs receiving this phone in the first place.
Well, as I said, I was very pleased, first of all, when they rejected the agreement, and the agreement was not good. And when the agreement came back, based on this report, it came back with something in the pigeonholes of all the MPs. That's what those who broke the news, that's what they told me. And what I'm saying is that if ordinarily a Chinese company or any company comes to donate phones to Parliament, I think there's nothing wrong with that. But if they have an interest that they are pursuing, whether or not those influence the decision of MPs, I think that we just need to study the issue. It's not in it at all. And that's why Ghanaians are crying right now, because we don't have to set any bad precedent.
Right.
Such that people will begin taking. Because I've been working with members of Parliament for many, many years. and I know that they have approved so many agreements and so on in the past without any incident. And if they want phones, because I heard a member saying these are national securities, listening and so on. I think if they want phones, and if that as a country we can provide phones to our honorable members, we don't need a Chinese company to come and give honorable members phones. And like I said, in other countries, you know, a body like Parliament...
Well, but Doc, I mean, we don't produce phones in Ghana, so to say that we don't need a Chinese company to provide MPs with phone, it's a bit pushing the button too deeply.
No, I mean, like you heard him say, he said that those phones, you just press a button and then you are talking to your colleague MP and so on and so forth. I know that we don't produce phones in Ghana.
Right.
But the point I'm making is that if we want phones that are secure, that members of parliament can communicate with each other, or ministers can communicate with each other, I think the national security should be the body that will be procuring these phones for our honorable members, and not a Chinese company coming to give it to them as a gift.
Right.
Because if you remember, let me just take you back into history a little bit. You remember when the MPP government got the Indians to build the Flagstaff House? We were all in this country, and we heard all the noise about it and how long it took the NDC government to move into that Flagstaff House, because we don't know what kind of what is happening. And recently, the Chinese also built the headquarters of the AU in Addis Ababa, and there was a lot of people across the continent. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening, sir. I'm listening, sir. Well, I think we've lost Dr. Rashid Dramani, who is Director of Parliamentary Services. You heard him explaining the issues that are before the media now. Titus Glover is still on. So, Titus, you were saying that you didn't find any.
Yeah. My brother, can I finish?
Yes, please. Yes, please, Doc.
I was saying that I just want to take you back a little bit into history. Recently, the Chinese built the headquarters of the AU, and there was a lot of cry across the continent, not only here in this country, about the fact that as a continent we shouldn't be allowing these things to happen, because we don't know, especially in this day and age when people can sit, millions of miles away and can listen to whatever is going on. On the back of that, on the back of the recent history about the Flagstaff House, because I remember when the NDC was in opposition, there was a lot of noise about it. I think we should learn some lessons from this, so that if we want phones, a secure platform for our members of parliament to speak to each other, I think this should be the task of the national security, procuring these phones and making sure that they are secured indeed for our members to conduct state business.
Right. So quickly, really.
But it shouldn't be coming on the back of some agreement that the parliament rejected. And like I said earlier, that was a very high for Parliament. That should not be mixed up with this issue of a gift subsequently.
Right. So, Doc, quickly, typically, what can MPs accept and what can they not accept? What are the parliamentary rules regarding receiving gifts, for example?
I've had a number of parliaments prepare their code of conduct and code of ethics and so on. Let me give you a typical example. Recently, I went to Zimbabwe to help that parliament to prepare their code of conduct, and within that code, there's a section which speaks about what kind of gift a member of parliament can receive, the threshold of that gift, and when he or she should report that gift and return it to parliament and so on. South Africa, the threshold is $50. If you receive anything more than $50, you have to report it to Parliament, you have to give it to the custody of Parliament and so on. In Zimbabwe, they decided a different thing. Like I said, in our Parliament here, I don't know, I am not too sure whether we have a code, and if we do, I don't know what the threshold is.
Right.
There is common practice. There's a threshold. If it goes beyond that, even if you are not considering a bill or you are not considering any agreement for a particular company or individual who is giving you that gift, parliamentary practice requires a report to the clerk of parliament and you deposit that gift.
Right. Let me quickly go back to Titus Glover. Titus Glover, if you're here, you're hearing me. I need to find out if there are laid down rules regarding what gifts members of parliament can take and what they cannot take. Can you share with us? Titus Glover, if you're here, Titus Glover is a member of parliament and has been speaking to us about issues that were raised by Dr. Rashid Dramani. I'm afraid I'm told that Titus Glover is off the line. So Doc, whilst you're here, I need you to tell us, moving on, how members of parliament should be addressing issues of this nature when they come before the House, so that it doesn't create the impression in the minds of the average citizen that the MPs are being corrupted.
Well, I think that, first of all, like I was saying, the earlier action that Parliament took in terms of saying to the minister, this agreement doesn't meet the mark, take it back. I think that was a very high for Parliament. That was, I mean, for me, a very great day, because I've been working with Parliament, studying Parliament, following issues about Parliament, and that was one of the few occasions where I saw Parliament rising together. I mean, no NPP, no NDC, together saying this is not good. And I think that is the kind of posture that we want to see in our members of Parliament. Today, I was reading a news item. Both the majority and the minority leaders were complaining bitterly about how partisanship within our Parliament is affecting to do their oversight work, as well as, I mean, all other duties that members of Parliament perform. And I have had occasion to say that in order for members of Parliament to do their work very well, there are three key issues. There is one, the issue of capacity; two, the issue of resources; and three, and most importantly, the issue of political will. The two issues, capacity and resources, outsiders can help. And people like us, organizations like ours, I mean, we all support Parliament in different ways. But when it comes to the issue of political will, I think that one members of Parliament, sadly, would have to do that themselves. They would have to come together. They would have to, I think, on certain occasions, side with the ordinary Ghanaian citizen who sent them to Parliament, and not side with their political parties.
Right on.
That way, I think going forward, we can see some effectiveness, and we can see our Parliament rising to the occasion and passing and doing their oversight work effectively.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Dramani, who is the Director of Parliamentary Services. Titus Glover also joined us. This is today's big story. And Marianne Ture, what's up? What's trending?
What's trending? There's a story that has repeated itself across so many of the platforms today, and it's about the road fund. Although we are making money, we're making losses, or we've made so much money in an X amount of years, but within a short period of time, there's no money in the fund.
No money in the fund.
No, and our roads are deplorable. I don't know where do you live and how's your road like?
My roads are not bad.
Not bad. Are you being diplomatic or being
my roads are okay. Okay.
Not bad.
No bad. Right. So let's hear what people have to say.
Of course. Welcome to JN Interactive. My name is Marianne Ture. Welcome to the Friday edition of JN Interactive within today's big story. And thank God it's Friday. Hello to all of you from wherever you're watching at this show. If you're joining us, I'd like to announce all the social media tools that you need to send all your comments. Facebook.com/JoyNewsOnTV. That is where you can get all the posts and then put your comments there. And then I will share them all with the rest of the world. If you are sending a tweet, send it to Joy News on TV. That is our handle at Joy News on TV. And remember to use the hashtag JNInteractiveGH so that I'll be able to sort everything out and take them all at once. If you're sending an email, send it to joynews.im@multitvworld.com. And our WhatsApp number is 0260518801. I am on Twitter too, and I tweet at MN Toure. So you can send everything that you're sending to us, and we will do well to share with the rest of the world. After all, the show is all about you. It thrives on the comments that you send through to us, and we also share them all with the rest of the world. And as always, JN Interactive is where tech meets news to set the agenda. So we are talking about the Road Fund because it is replicated in so many stories online. And I am hoping that you can see what I am seeing right now. This is from myjoyonline.com that the Road Fund generates 1.21 million Ghana cedis, and this is the story, and it's saying that between 2000 and 2011, one Mr. Isaac Mensah, who is the Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways, disclosed that between this period, the Road Fund generated 1.21 billion Ghana cedis, and that is a lot of money. The same story is replicated on XYZ online, as you can see that it did actually generate that, but he said that in spite of the financial achievements, the fund carried forward an indebtedness of 210.5 million Ghana cedis from 2012 to 2013, increasing the previous year's indebtedness by 59.60 million Ghana cedis. And that is staggering to think that this is what is happening. The country is indebted, although we are getting money in, the fund still has no money in there. The same story is replicated on the City FM online, and you know, it's amazing that we have funds that have a lot of money in them. But when you go in there to look for the money is nowhere to be found, and our roads are in a deplorable state. At this particular moment, we have Frank Agbenato, who is the director of the Road Fund Secretariat, on the line so that he would help us. You know, that's what we do here on JN Interactive. We educate ourselves on the trending issues as well, so that we'll be able to understand them to the barest minimum. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, madam.
How are you doing today?
By His grace, we're doing good.
Thank God. First, I'd like you to please educate us. Which roads benefit from the Road Fund?
Thank you very much again. The entire road network in Ghana benefits from the Road Fund.
So if that is the case, why are they in deplorable state if they benefit from that fund and there is supposed to be money in there?
Thank you. Sincerely, it is not all the roads that are in a deplorable state, if you will be truthful to ourselves. But then, when we look at the amount of money that we have collected so far between the period that our Deputy Minister talks about, and then the network that we are trying to maintain, that is where the comparison can work out clearly. We have, after 2001 to 2010, that is the period we're talking about, we had collected that amount of money, but then we were trying to maintain a road network of 39,000 kilometers after 2000. But this network has doubled to about 68,000 kilometers as of 2012, as we're talking now. So the increment or the expansion of the network and the requirement of funds that are needed to maintain it is what makes the difference. So that we are using the same amount of money that we're generating annually to be able to look at the expanded road network. We had levies and rates that were accruing to the fund. These rates were not increased until 2010 when the road tolls and the vehicle registration fees and the roadworthy fees were a little bit increased. It was from 2010 that we had that increment. That is when we had some substantial increment into the fund for the maintenance of the roads.
So cumulatively from 2010 to 2013, that, if you do the maths, is 3 years. So the amount of money that we have had so far. Let's look at a road like the Accra-Tema motorway. It is not in the best of shapes. Wouldn't it have been possible for us to use whatever has come in within these 3 years to do something about those roads?
Yes, thank you. When we look at the motorway, the age of the road that we're talking about comes to play. Now, we are looking at a concrete road, and the concrete is now giving way. What needs to be done is either overlaying this road or breaking off the concrete and doing a fresh one on it, which means a lot of money. Now, at this moment, there is the view that we need to expand the motorway. So instead of just going in to do just the existing one, the thought is that why don't we expand it now? So that is what is being worked on at the moment. But we have not altogether left it to deteriorate as many people think. We're trying to do one or two maintenance works along it with time.
But how many kilometers of road is maintained yearly by this fund?
That's like I said earlier. As of 2001, we had a network of 39,000 kilometers approximately. Now, between that time and 2012, there had been an expansion of up to 68,000 kilometers now. So that is what we do maintain. Every year, the estimation is that we carry out about, with the trunk roads, we try to maintain about 11,000 kilometers. For the urban roads, we're looking at about 850, and for the feeder roads, we have about 40. That's about 22,000 or so. Yeah. So all this network is we try to do some maintenance work on them. But what has happened is that the amount of money we generate or that accrues to the fund annually is able to just maintain a certain percentage, just about some 30 to 35% of the network, which means that the remaining is not completely, it's left out completely the whole year round. That is why, since the large population, the large percentage is left out unmaintained, that brings the picture we are seeing today.
Right.
That the network is sort of neglected or is not receiving the necessary maintenance.
But are there any plans to increase the toll amount anytime soon? And if there are, by how much?
As of now, there hasn't been any plan to increase the tolls. Neither is there any plan to increase the roadworthy or the vehicle registration fees. But the portion of the road fund or the revenue that comes from fuel levy has been stagnant since 2005. And it is our expectation that if something could be done about this portion of the fuel levy that comes to the road fund, that will contribute a lot more to carry out the maintenance works. We were advocating that instead of a lump sum increment, why don't we work out some percentage of the export price that should come into the road fund so that we do not have to go to Parliament every now and then asking for the increment. There will be that automatic adjustment to the fund, to the fuel levy. Once there is adjustment in the fuel prices, it adjusts itself as well.
Okay.
So that is the situation we are now trying to seek approval for that sort of situation. When that is done, when that approval comes, then it means that we can have an automatic adjustment into the fuel prices.
Thank you so much. But you do know that Ghanaians are crying already. So if we have to factor this in and it won't cost us too much, then obviously we might agree on that. But thank you so much for sharing insights with us here. And that was Frank Agbenator. He is the director of the Road Fund Secretariat. He was educating us on the road fund and which roads, qualify to be, maintained by the fund, and apparently every road in Ghana falls under that particular fund. We're going to take some comments that have been coming in, especially on Facebook, and we were asking you to share. We wanted to find out what is the state of the roads in your neighborhood was and how often your neighborhood road was maintained, and whether you support an increase in road toll to support road maintenance. And so many comments have been coming in. FO says, I have absolutely no problem with increasing tolls for construction or maintenance of roads in the country, but my problem is the duration of our roads, because that would be the essence if a road is constructed and within a year or two it is in a bad state again. Oh, you mean what would it be? I must admit we have some number of roads in the country which are in good state, but there are some too that need urgent construction. An example being the Eastern Corridor Road, but I'm hopeful the government would work around the clock to fix them. And Albert Akwa says, as bad as Kwame Nkrumah left them, and you are of that view that they are indeed bad. Joaquim says, I know there are bad roads in Ghana, but I have good ones in my area. They are maintained regularly too, but I won't support an increase in road toll. Joaquim, it would have been great for you to actually tell me where you lived, and then perhaps we can compare it with other places. If you live in the affluent areas or the newly constructed ones, and of course, you would say that they are good roads. Baba Musa Tamale says, even though some key roads like Tamale Gushegu Road, Nyankpala, Daboya, Yendi, Bimbala, Salaga, among other roads, need some constructional works on them, we are quite sure the government is working around the clock to fix them. We are urging government to quicken the pace so that these roads can be fixed soon. I also think that the road toll should be maintained, but the Ministry of Road and the Highways owe it a duty to put in place mechanisms that would plug the leakages at the various toll booths collection points on the highways. We also thank President Mahama's government for reconstructing the Kintampo-Tamale Road with bitumen surface, which makes traveling from Tamale to Kumasi very easy. And of course, we would all like that, wouldn't we? Mutala says, for now, the road toll should be maintained as it is, but the authorities should up their game because most of the roads are engulfed with potholes, which are very dangerous to we road users. I'm saying that you're perhaps being lenient if you call them potholes. I might call them craters because some of them are huge, they're deep, and driving on them, especially at night, if you don't know your way, you could end up losing your life. And so something ought to be done about them. Osikeni Osaifosu says they just collect and eat. This is Ghana. Ghana, do what you like. Issa says, I in person don't agree to an increase of road toll because the existing ones funds are not even going to the government. Osajefo says, Nasikano wa, so you mean Sikano wahi? Okay, I've completed it for you. Nasikano wahi, where our money day? So we are asking whoever is in charge to give us some answers, and I'm sure we'll follow this up and bring you some more answers. Roland Yabua Fine Boy says, I think mine is better since they are working on it currently. Kudos to the government. Abdullahi Baba says, yep, it is fine, but our road management teams are not correct. Ras Mubarak, this government is never serious at all. This is what Ghanaians bargained for. God save us, I beg. Just your cameras to have a feel of the Bolga Boko Road. And so I am sure that President Mahama says he is in first gear. And so when he shifts from first to second through to fourth, you might get to your road and it will be fixed. So just have a little patience. Maxairam says, roads in my area are very bad, especially during the rainy season. Corruption is the biggest problem facing this country. Who is in charge of the road fund? I think periodic accounts should be rendered to the good people of Ghana. We want to know what the money is being used for. God save Ghana. Ayite Derek, well, in Dodowa, our road, it's not that bad. Adomako Job, too much traffic jam, the road expansion, Kumasi Mampong Road. Abdullahi Abdul Razak says it is important for every community in the country to have good roads to help our farmers and the lives of the people. One more comment before we go. Issa says he is on Wild West. They are not using the money wisely. It is not be increased at all. I'm not getting that. So many comments have been coming through. It's rather unfortunate. I can't take all of your comments, but thank you so much for being there. It's Friday after all, and thank God it's Friday. This is where we ended. Steve is back, so we can wrap up together.
Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah.
And Israel is coming to us at 8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock, of course.
And Joy News Exclusive
comes up after
this. And today on Joy News Exclusive, we're discussing the changing face of doing business.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that's where we ended for today.
Yes, and my name is Stephen Anti.
And I am Marian Toure. Have a truly blessed weekend. Shall see you Monday.